Okay, so we are live. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. My name is Mahnur Jamil. I'm a scholarship holder in Turkey and a proud member of GDG Live Pakistan team. GDG Live Pakistan is passionate about empowering women throughout the country, striving to narrow the technical divide within our country and industry. Each month, a new theme is introduced. This March, we're focusing on highlighting women, brilliant women like Azima herself, in technology and the inspiration they put forward in the community. Today, I'm delighted to commence the second episode of our Leading Light Smart series. Our speaker for today is Azima Dhanjee, who is the co-founder and CEO of Connect Here. It is a social enterprise that strives for sign language accessibility and deaf inclusion in Pakistan by utilizing technology and sign language recognition. She is dedicated to discovering innovative ways to utilize technology to assist individuals with disabilities. With her, we will be discussing about the challenges she faced, the ideation of the organization, and much more. Without further ado, I would like to hand over the floor to Azima Dhanji.
Hi, thank you so much for having me here. I apologize for the weird thing that's going on with my background. I might just ditch it, but so happy to be here with everyone and really looking forward to this conversation.
That's great. So, Azima, can you tell us about what Connect here is? Like, how can we youth actually learn from your experiences, etc.?
For sure. So, if any of you who's listening to us right now, if you guys already know about Connect Here, please comment and tell me if that you guys do. And for the ones who don't, Connect Here is basically working for persons with disabilities, specifically the deaf community, using technology. So, our entire goal is that how can we use technology in a way that people who can't hear and use sign language as a mode of communication can have communication and information access just as easily as we all hearing people do. So that's something we have been striving for the last 7 years. We have built a technology around it already. We are building more now. So that's the entire focus.
That's wonderful. So, can you elaborate on your experience as a woman navigating the technology industry?
Absolutely. So I have not studied computer sciences or technology myself. I am a business student. I graduated with a business degree. However, during my journey, I ended up exploring technology for something I was passionate about. So I would say that for me, the first thing that came was my passion, and the solution of my passion or thing that I was really concerned about lied in technology. And that's how I entered the technology field. Thanks to my co-founder, Arham Ishtiaq, who was studying tech. And together we were able to build technology for Connect Here. And that was my journey about learning how tech can empower even. I think empower is a better word, empower so many individuals out there with whatever challenges that they're facing. And since then, I have just been very much interested in exploring more and more ways how we can use technology, explore more technology that's out in the market, and continue growing it.
That's wonderful. What hurdles did you face in the tech industry and how did you overcome them?
So Connectia works for a very specific group, people who can't hear and the lives that are linked to it. So when we were working for this particular group and we wanted to build technology around it, it was a very new idea. So for us to present our idea to the tech industry and show our passion and our solution for a cause that not a lot of people in Pakistan were thinking about back in 2017 was our number one challenge. Because of my gender, a lot of the times people thought that, I'm a woman and I'm emotional and I have a personal, my parents are deaf, so I'm personally linked to the community, which is why I want to do it. And nobody thought that, as a woman, as a person who's, in the entrepreneurial space, wants to use technology, wants to build things that could be sustainable, empowering. And it was only through the works of Connect Here when we actually proved our cases. We proved how the technology would work, how would it make impact. We had to continuously give examples to the society to reach a point now that people agree that we have a space in the tech industry, and people agree that we're not health tech, or we're not confined into one specific. We are actually disability tech. So disability tech being recognized was a huge journey being in the tech industry. But of course, like I said, by doing the work, by showing the use cases, we were actually able to make a strong case. I'm just going to
Yeah,
ditch it
that's brilliant.
together so I don't look so blue.
I understand. I actually had a personal question as well. So I understand that it was like, of course, it was very hard for Connect here to get into the industry, because I think this was also a first mover for the deaf community. So it's like very hard to convince the sponsors and the audience, etc. But I personally had this question, like even in our generation right now, there are a lot of people who are very hard to adapt to technology. So, like creating Connect here and making it for the deaf community, and how did you actually convince the deaf community that this Connect here is going to be beneficial for them?
This is a very good question, and I think no one has ever asked me this question. So, a lot of what we have built, actually, everything that we have built, have actually come from the community themselves. So, this has been the biggest achievement of our journey, and a lot of learning over there as well. When we started Connect Here, it started with just a Facebook page that was teaching sign language. This was back in 2017. We were 19 years old, making videos, telling people how to sign specific words. It was actually the community that existed, the deaf people that existed on Facebook, that started commenting, started reaching out to us and telling us that, we have these needs. We have communication inaccessibility. We use mobile phones. We have WhatsApp. We know how video calls work. Can you build tech for us? Can you connect us? And it wasn't like them coming and just saying, like, why don't you guys build a video calling app? Or why don't you guys work on real time recognition? It was more like them coming up and being like, we wish that whenever we want to connect with an interpreter, we don't necessarily have to have them going around with us, but it would be wonderful if it was, on our phones, or if we walk into a bank or a hospital, the interpreter was just available virtually. Can that happen? And it was us testing it out with them. Okay, sure. Why don't you go to a hospital, do a video call? Let's test the idea. Let's see if we can connect with an online interpreter, and an online interpreter can facilitate the conversation as well as an in-person interpreter could. So this was actually a lot of learnings that we got, a lot of support we got from the community that taught us that they already had WhatsApp. They were actually learning each other's sign language. They were connecting with each other through their WhatsApp community, through their Facebook community, because it was actually for them a way of connection with the society that they weren't getting otherwise, right? So if you are walking around in a society, Manur, you and your 5 friends who are all hearing, who can speak, who can hear, you guys will connect with each other very easily. But if a deaf person comes, it would be really hard for them to understand what you guys are talking about, what's being discussed, what's being offered. But when they go online, when they go digitally, they can see everything that's happening. So deaf people use digital channels a lot. It was a lot of learning for us starting it out as well. We tested a lot of our ideas with them before building those technologies around. So we didn't have to convince them. They actually convinced us to build the technologies for them.
That's wonderful to hear. मेरा एक और सवाल था कि yes, so I understand the deaf community actually reached out to you, but like जब से आपने ये connect here बनाया तब से लेके आज तक, how many people are actually using it?
So we have been connected to about, I think, 100,000 people through our social media channels who are deaf Pakistanis all across, not only in Pakistan, but all across the world. Uh, we already have an application in the market that's Connect Here application. It's a virtual video calling solution. So what the application does is that it connects a person to a human speaking sign language interpreter sitting at our office, at our call center, who facilitates the entire conversation on a monthly basis or on regular basis. We're actually serving about 100 to 150 calls. So that's the usage of it. So that technology is already out there. We're reaching out to the deaf people, not only through that, but through our digital channels as well. And it's only increasing. It's not only, of course, digital channels. And I think this is a lesson for everyone that we had to use a lot of other mechanisms after building our technology. We had to, build deaf leaders in different societies, in different communities across Pakistan, who became our advocates, who went to other deaf people and taught them how to use this application. Or whenever they get a query that, we need an interpreter, they would tell them that Connectia application exists. So it was more about building the technology than also educating people. And I think it's a regular process. It's still happening on a regular basis.
Spreading awareness about the technology is very, very hard. And congratulations on the huge number, by the way. uh, I also wanted to ask, what strategies have you employed in your organization to cultivate diversity and inclusion?
So, of course, we are an organization that works for a group that not a lot of people think about. So, forever, our DEI, our diversity, equity, and inclusion lens is on with whatever work we're doing. So, number one, we are an equal opportunity employer. We have deaf people employed at our organization who are doing brilliant work. Our production manager who makes all of our videos, our graphic designer, our trainer, all of them are deaf, and we had to do that to prove to the companies that we work with that you know all these great products and all this presence of Connectia that you're seeing everywhere, it comes from the community. So even you can hire them, you can empower them, and that has been our focus since beginning. And when it comes to gender, it's equally like that. We didn't even intended to make sure that we hire women. It just happened because number one, Arham and I are leading it. I am a female leader in the company, and when I go out and I interpret, I do the work. There are other deaf families who push their daughters to go and do it as well. It was also a process, but most of our interpreters are women. So I think a lot of it naturally happened. When it comes to gender, it was, we didn't think about it that much. It just naturally happened. It's always, the lens is always on, and because it's led by both a men and a women, it's always been just it just happens. And then, of course, with that comes a lot of responsibility. When I am a women leader and I'm leading the organization, I know what sort of challenges I go through on a daily basis, and how I need to make sure that our policies are in place to support other female employees in the organization. And it has never been that we make a policy for female employee and Arham or any of our male employees would be like, no, that's unfair. No, it's just everybody is so integrated with the DEI culture because they see inclusion as the prime focus of Connectia, given that we work for a community that needs to be included more and more.
That's great to hear. Uh, Moving forward with that, could you discuss further initiatives you've taken to support and empower women? Like, I understand we Connect here is actually focusing on introducing female interpreters as well. But are there any other initiatives that you have introduced so far at Connect here for women?
So, of course, like I said, at Connect here, all of our women, female interpreters, female team members, they have the opportunity to come up for career growth. For we have a menstrual leave policy at our organization as well, and it wasn't a big deal. It was just something that we knew that we had to do, and then we keep on growing and learning from our society, our surrounding, and also our female employees themselves. So when they come up and they tell us that this is something that they're particularly going through, first of all, they feel comfortable sharing it because they have a female team lead listening to them, hearing them out, which is very, very important. But when it comes to women in general in the tech industry, I think the biggest um, thing that I have been able to do, or I consciously push myself to do, is I've been very fortunate with the network I have been able to build. So, I've connected with people, I've talked to them about our passion. That was my mom. Okay, so basically, so my network is something that I feel whenever a female entrepreneur reaches out to me and they tell me that this is something I'm going through and I need a mentor. First of all, I see if I can support them directly. And if it's not my expertise, then I would connect them to someone who I know would be a great support. So I've never done it under like a formal program or a formal network, or haven't built a program or a label titled anything around it, but it's more about me knowing that as a female entrepreneur, as a young female entrepreneur, when I started, it was actually my mentors, my supporters, so many of them who helped me and helped connect her in the journey. So whenever a female emails me and they're like, we have this project going on and we need support, I read it through, I see if I can support them directly. And if I can't, I connect them to Arham, and I push my co-founder, I push my business partner that you need to listen to her, you need to give her time, you need to help her in her journey. And if it's not Arham and I, and if it's someone else in the community, we try to connect them. So I think this is something that I have been able to do so far, just offering my network and my connection to more female entrepreneurs out there. And this is for everyone who's listening to this conversation. If there's any way that we can support, we can give back, especially to young entrepreneurs, to young female entrepreneurs, 110%.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Adding to what you said about the mentorship and networking, I also believe it's extremely essential. But how can the audience actually find the relevant mentors and networks for their community?
That's a very good question, and that's a very, very important question.
Yeah.
Um, so whenever someone sees, us working, like our LinkedIn post and everything, people always tell me that, Azima, you're so lucky that you connect to so many people. But what I want to tell people out there is I would write to 10 people and two of them would get back to me. But I would take that as a success. So, number one key thing to do is to ensure that you are reaching out to more and more people out there. Number two, work on your research. So, whenever I want to work with someone, I want to connect with someone, I go on LinkedIn, I see their company profile, I see the people who are working there, and then I would actually read through their post and see if there are synergies, they have something to offer. If I see a mutual connection, like if I want to connect with Mahanur, I'll go to Mahanur's LinkedIn and I'll see, is there a common connection in between? And if there's a friend or a mentor I know who knows Mahanur, I will reach out to them. I will ask them that this is what I need to reach out Mahanur for. Do you think it's relevant? She's relevant. Should I reach out? Or at times I would be like, okay, if she is relevant, so can you please do the introduction? That really, really helps. And I think that's a key suggestion I can give to everyone. If you want to connect with someone, find a mutual connection in between and then ask them to formally introduce, and it always helps out. Don't shy away from asking for support. You have no idea how many people are out there wanting to support young entrepreneurs, female entrepreneurs, and that has helped us. Connecture is completely bootstrapped. We don't come from business families. We went through so many, phases and waves in our journey. But what kept us going was just talking to more people, reaching out, asking for support. And if you want to do a big event, we would just ask people if we could get a space for free. If not, maybe we can do something for you, and in return, you can give us the space for free. So have these conversations, do your research, be prepared, and also don't be disheartened. Like, for example, if one of you write to Azima and Azima doesn't get back to you, it's probably because she's busy, or it's probably because she doesn't think that she can actually answer to your question 100%. So it would be a waste of time for both of us. So don't hold grudges against people. Like I said, reach out to 10 people and two of them will definitely reply.
That's great. I also wanted to ask, I'm not really sure how many people are actually working in Connect here as employees. So, like, based on your experience, how many employees do you think is the best when you're starting your own organization?
Really depends. I don't think there's one answer to it. I don't think there's a right answer to it. When we started Connect here, we were three co-founders, so we were leading it. We were, the brains behind it. However, we reached out to our friends to support us. So we had friends, Burhan, Nafe, Saad, who came and who were doing production work for us. Then we needed interpreters because I wasn't enough running around and interpreting. So we reached out to more people. I think what you need to do is when you're starting out an idea, write down the skill sets or the things that you need. When you write things down, then you can find people around it. So even with our co-founding team, we knew all three of us bring something different to the table, something unique to the table. And then we knew that there was, this piece that was missing. None of us knew how to do video production. So that's something we need to search people for. Or, none of us knew interpretation other than Azima. So we need to find more people out. And then team size will always increase and decrease. That's always going to happen in your journey. But it's a process. So right now, when we started, I don't even remember how many people we were at that time, but right now we are 15 full-time people. And then we have all other part-time interpreters as well. So it just keeps on growing and decreasing, and it's constantly role mapping and seeing what spaces are missing and how you can fill it out.
That's excellent. Okay, so from your perspective, what unique strengths and perspectives do women bring to the realms of technology?
Manu, you got really good questions, and I wish more people asked this question. I think the biggest thing that women brings to the table when it is about building technology is the gender perspective. We have gone through ages and ages of technology being built that was just built with one gender in mind. So now bringing women to the table, other genders to the table, it's about opening up the conversation and seeing more products being built with, a wholesome perspective. So when it comes to connected technology as well, like I mentioned, I didn't start out as a tech woman or I didn't study it formally, but it was more about, Arham's expertise and his tech journey. However, having me on the table brought a women perspective to the whole thing, that when we're building this application, when we're building further technologies, when we want to roll it out, how do we ensure that we have as many women users as we have male users? How do we ensure their safety, their protection? How do we ensure that it's fun for them, it's flexible for them? What colors would look good for both the genders, other genders? So I think the number one, the biggest, I think the best thing that happens when you bring a women to table when you're building technology is more perspective about people who are going to be using it, and it's not going to end up becoming another technology that's only built with one gender in mind. And then secondly, I think when you bring women to table, you are inspiring more young women to study and take up technology and entrepreneurship. You're inspiring the upcoming generation who has equal potential but didn't come out. Because I've had experiences, it's not personal because Alhamdulillah, I've had very supportive family where if I have to go to a space with all men, my brother would come with me to ensure that I'm okay, but they would never say don't go. However, I've mentored, young women. Their parents wouldn't let them be part of events or be part of activities because they would fear that their daughter is going to be the only girl over there. So I had one experience where a parent personally asked me that, Azima, we're gonna let her go if only you go with her. And I did. I went with her to that hackathon and I was a part of it as well. And I ensured the parents I'm going to be there. But that taught me such a huge lesson that, it's only because we have such lack of representation, because we're not doing conscious efforts of bringing women to the table. And I always tell this to places and people in organizations that I work with, because at times, a lot of people also tell me that we invited women, but they didn't come, or we wanted more women to come to this event, or we wanted more women to be part of this panel, but they didn't come. So I always cross question them, and I ask them that, okay, but do you realize that your event is after 7 p.m. and they might not have the mobility that a male would? Did you offer them transportation? Did you offer them, opportunity to connect online? So that's why we ask these questions. And I realize that sometimes, some people get tired, like, oh my God, all of these women entrepreneurs keep on pushing for more women agenda and for them to be included. But we only do that because I have personally seen a young, very, very competitive girl not getting permission from her house only because the parent feared that she's going to a space where she's going to be the only girl. These stories exist in society, which is why we have to continue pushing for them. That's why we need more women in tech. We need to give them space. We need to have more representation.
Agreed. I also wanted to ask about this, continuing to what you just said about women in technology. But I've seen a lot of people, they do know about technology, but still they don't avail them. So how could we, like for females, how could we ensure that they're also part of different events? Because as long as they don't experience it, they would not come towards it. So how could we actually pitch them that technology is good for them?
I think representation is still a huge part when you represent technology being inclusive, diverse, allowing more people to come up, changing the narrative that, yes, I study in university, I study computer science, and of course, I'm only one of the three girls in the class. Changing that narrative and being like, it's okay that I'm one out of the three girls in the class. I hope I can inspire and get more girls to the class, is the conversation that we need to have. I don't think, I mean, it's my personal opinion. I don't think any gender youth, doesn't come into technology. If they're coming into technology, it is because they are interested and they're passionate about it, regardless of their gender. But of course, we need to do conscious efforts of making sure that they can reach to the events. So I was just attending a panel last week where there was a brilliant lady from Quetta who was speaking at that panel, and and she has done brilliant work. And somebody asked her, how can we get more girls from Quetta to come and be part of our events? And she replied so wonderfully. She said, they don't need to come here, you need to come there, so that you can give access to more women over there. And I think that's changing the narrative of, you know always saying that how do we bring the girls here, but more about how do we reach girls. And I think there are a lot of incubators, accelerators, programs that are happening, tech focused women program that are happening. I know Circle does an amazing tech focused program. Catalyst Labs does a women fellowship program. So all of these, Circle goes to locations and does it. Catalyst Labs has it all online. So these are all platforms. And then lastly, if Manur knows about it or if Azima knows about it, we need to talk about these programs on our social media. We need to tell our friends that these opportunities exist. We need to be loud about it. We need to write captions saying that, girls, this program is for you. It is hybrid. You can be a part of it as well. Please join in. And it's not only for us girls to do it, right? Ahmed Khan, he's watching us right now. Ahmed can write a post saying, Catalyst does a program just for women. So if you're a women tech entrepreneur and you can't reach to location, just join this program online. It's about more of us making noises and just not leaving it with people who are conducting these events.
That's excellent. And we have a lot of questions by the audience who are watching today. So there's a question by Munza Jabin. She asked, can you please share a wholesome story with your parents?
Thank you so much, Munza, for that question. So yeah, my parents are the inspiration behind Connect here and why I started it. But it's so funny because when I started Connect here and I was also studying at that time, I got so busy that I had no time for them anymore at that time. And I remember my mom sitting me down one day and saying that you started it for us and now you give us the least amount of time. So that has been the journey with them. However, they have been really supportive. Both of my parents are deaf, and sign language is my mother tongue. It's the first language I learned as a baby to be able to communicate with my parents. And growing up, I never thought that my family or my parents were different because डांट भी वैसे पड़ती थी और opportunities घूमना फिरना भी वैसे ही था. However, when I grew older, I think when I started going to school, I realized that my life or my family was different. And it obviously came because whenever I would interact with my parents in sign language, in the society, at school, a lot of people would stare at us. People had absolutely no idea why we would use hands to communicate. People would often assume that I'm also deaf, and they would say comments like, "Oh, बेचारे सब deaf हैं," या फिर the normal. And I was raised hearing all of this. However, I never felt, and I think this comes from my parents, that they gave us so much strength, and they were always there for us, that I never felt this that I'm ashamed about it or I'm embarrassed about it. I remember I've always been a very competitive child, so I would compete in debate competitions, I would compete in spelling bee, and my parents would always sit in front, and they had absolutely no idea what was happening in the event because everything is verbal. None of our events have sign language interpreters, so everything is verbal, and I'm verbally participating. And my parents are just observing everyone's reaction to my performance. And when they see everyone clapping and cheering, they know that I have given the right answer, and they would cheer for me as well. They would be happy for me as well. So their support was so immense throughout my journey that I realized that this was never anything to be embarrassed about. However, my thinking was very different. My thinking was, so my parents are brilliant and awesome. The society doesn't know that. How do I make people around me realize that? How do I normalize it? How do I make people around me realize that it's you who doesn't know sign language, who can't connect with my parents? So I always grew up with this, persistent thought in my head. But regardless, I never thought this was something that I would pursue. I wanted to do actual sciences for I don't know what reason. Then I realized I'm not that smart. And then before I was applying for IBA for my university, I remember during the aptitude test, this just came to my head. This thought that why don't you do something for the community if nothing is happening? Of course, there are brilliant deaf schools, but once a deaf child graduates, they are literally clueless in the society because society looks at a deaf person, they see a disability, and they think their brains don't work. But it's not like that because my mother worked at a bank, my dad worked, he did service. So many deaf people, they're brilliant artists, graphic designers. So I think these all components, small experiences in my life pushed me towards being like, okay, if no one is doing it, that doesn't mean I cannot do it. I wanted to start right away. I told my parents that I don't want to go to university. I want to start working for the deaf community. However, I'd gotten admission at IBA. So my mama, like every other parent, was like, "Pehle padhai, phir kaam." So that's why I had to join IBA. But I was fortunate to get entrepreneurship courses there. Then I found my friends. I saw किनके साथ मिलकर हम काम शुरू कर सकते हैं. I reached out. So I had no idea what Nest.io was at that time, but I Googled Nest.io with my friend Arij, who was our other co-founder. Arij and I Googled Nest.io. We learned the name of Jahara. We learned the name of the program manager at that time. We just walked into the space one day and we said, हमारी गर्मियों की छुट्टियां चल रही हैं and we don't want to waste it and we want to work on this idea. And this was 2017 July, where our journey started with a Facebook page. And Alhamdulillah, we just learned, iterated, created a lot of awareness. We knew from the beginning that we are not building a ride hailing app. We're not building a Kareem or a Yango that comes to the market and everybody knows how to use it. or a food panda that comes to the market and everybody knows how food hailing works. It's a very different idea. We need to create a lot of awareness. We have to persist. And that has been our journey. And Alhamdulillah, my parents have been very supportive, free marketeers whenever we try to do any sort of new idea, or when we built our Connect Your application, they became our first users and they became our voice in the community as well. So that's been the journey.
That is so inspirational. We have another question by Eska Ahmed, and she said a good chunk of people in Pakistan are unable to use technology because it's something they don't understand. So, how did you tackle those challenges while marketing and making Connect Here more accessible?
That's a very good question. So, Aska, of course, I would not say that every person who's deaf out there uses our technology, because just तरह से hearing community में भी limitation है between people who use tech, who understand tech, as compared to people who don't. We face the same thing. We still face the same thing with the deaf community. However, our benefit, or I would say the thing that worked out really well for us is the deaf community, they can't call, right? सो अगर उनके पास फोन्स भी है तो वो लोग कॉल नहीं करते, बिकॉज दे कांट हियर। तो वो लोग वीडियो कॉल करते हैं, और वीडियो कॉल वो लोग व्हाट्सएप पे, उन्हें पता है वीडियो कॉल कैसे काम करती है, वीडियो कॉल पे कनेक्शन क्या होता है। So we benefited on we cashed on that idea that this is a concept. You click on a button and you connect with a person to communicate. So we banged on that idea and we brought something that was very common and similar, something that the deaf community was familiar with. We got inspired by that idea and we brought it to Connect Your application. So our virtual application is one button. You click on a button and you get connected with an interpreter. So we simplified it so much after going back to the community and trying it out. We simplified it so much that they knew how the idea works and they were comfortable using it. It wasn't a lot of processes. Till date, what we do, if we do find a deaf person who's not getting hang of it, who's struggling with it, we have created a lot of tutorial videos in sign language that's available on our social media. Every day we have a WhatsApp broadcast where we put up videos on how to use the application. We have deaf ambassadors in communities teaching people how to use this application. We go to communities as well. So last December, we traveled to Faisalabad, where we conducted a session with 300 deaf people telling them how to use the application. So it's a lot of different mechanisms to be able to get the adaptation. However, I can't say that every deaf person out there would know how to use technology and they use it. There's always your boundary, and we do agree and acknowledge to that.
So, when you were creating Connect Here, how many prototypes did you create and how many iterations did you go through?
So I think प्रोटोटाइप बनाने से, ऐप बनाने से पहले तो हमने आइडिया को वैलिडेट किया मार्केट में, and we did that through third party platform. And this would be my biggest advice to everyone out there who's trying to build something new. Validate your idea. So we tested out our video calling option with a lot of deaf people on WhatsApp video call, that if you need a virtual interpreter, call us on this WhatsApp number. And we did that for 1 year. We collected all of that data and then we applied for opportunities where we got the funding to build our application. So before the prototype, we had an entire testing, proving phase. And then we built a prototype that was tested I don't know how many iterations it went through, but we had a 6 months period of testing it out before we launched it. And now our technology is majorly in businesses and companies. However, the journey didn't end there. We learned things that could have been better. We kept on improving our technology. But right now we're at a point that we want to bring our application to a level up, and that's something we are working on right now. So I think the iterations and the changes and the development, it never stops.
Agreed. As far as I know, Connect here is also known as the Google Translate for sign language, and it utilizes AI. So, can you provide a very short, brief overview of the model?
Absolutely. And I love that I'm able to do this with a lot of you out there, because what I want is that whatever I'm sharing with you guys, if you are interested to explore it more or to be part of Connectia's journey in building this AI tech, please get in touch with us. So, like I mentioned, Connectia already has one technology in the market, which is the video calling application. It's already out there. We have monetized it, and that's how we are sustaining. We're growing. It's completely B2B. The second technology that we have been very, very focused on is building Google Translate for sign language. It's the best way to explain it. What we're trying to do is we are trying to create real time sign language recognition. So, a lot of you might have watched videos where there are these two guys with a glove, and whenever you use the glove and you sign, your computer or your hardware is able to recognize whatever you are signing. However, the glove can only detect your mostly static signs. So A, B, C, the glove can detect it. But when it's a movement based sign, which use two hands, first of all, the glove has its limitation. The glove is a brilliant FIP project, but it hasn't been implemented in the market because, again, it doesn't simplify or solves the communication gap that the deaf community faces out. What we are trying to do at Connect here is we want to bring real-time sign language translation interpretation at the ease of your your computer camera, so your webcam, your mobile phone camera. So what we have done so far, we have brought it to your webcam, your computer camera, where if you sign to your webcam without any hardware, so you just sign to your camera, it can detect what you're signing. It can detect movement based words, and it can translate your sign into text. And then audio is simpler. You guys will understand this. So text, it's already there. What our focus with that is we want to create more data set, because Pakistani Sign Language, it's being explored in Pakistani Sign Language for the very first time. So we're building the data set using loads of videos that we have. So we have video compilation, we're training our model with that. And what we want to do is that we want our webcam, our computer cameras, our mobile phone camera, you just sign to it and it can translate what you are signing. Connectia has already built the alpha version of it. We did that with about 200 words, and we are growing it even further. We are doing an M&E process where we want our model to also tell us, which words and which signs it's confusing between. So it's a very, very, I would say, it's a very, I don't know the word, but it's a very deep journey. There are a lot of levels to it, but Arham and the team is onto it. They've been working on it for a very long time. Arham researched it for 3 years, and now we have built this alpha version. And now our goal is to build further technologies around sign language recognition and bring it out in the market all across the world. If you guys search it, it's just happening all across the world. It hasn't happened so far over the years, over the previous years. It was always done with, specialized cameras or gloves. But at the simplicity of your laptop webcam, it's happening for the first time. And we are really, really pushing for it. But what we need is more resources. We need individuals who are passionate about this field. We need people who are passionate about computer vision, machine learning to join us in this journey, to see how you guys can also support us in expediting it, or also learning how we can make and improve our system even further. But that's the goal. That's what we want to do. We want to build products out of sign language recognition using AI.
I am super, super fascinated by the model, and so is the audience. And we have another question by Daniel Sohail. So he said, as an entrepreneur, can you share your journey of getting a limelight and how to market your product?
Very good question, Daniel. I think number one thing that we forget doing is that we are so focused on building the product that we forget about connecting with the community that we're building the product for. And that is somewhere you need to market yourself सबसे पहले. So, of course, it is necessary to market yourself in the startup community, in front of investors. You need to connect with all of those people. However, मैंने जो जितने भी businesses देखे हैं that have succeeded, they have really, really reached out. They have built a community that supports them, build a community that understands them, and that also helps you to come in the limelight. So when we started Connect Here's journey, we were firstly linked with the deaf community supporting us, backing us, acknowledging that Connect Here exists, and there are people who want to work for deaf people. And then we started going to different competition, different events, different networking opportunities, and talking about what we're passionate about with the same amount of passion. Like, people meet me at times and they're like, you have the same passion about this like when you did in 2017 when you're talking about it, and they ask me if I don't get tired of it. Of course, it's difficult. It's difficult to share the same story. It's difficult to share what you're passionate about again and again. However, I've realized in my journey that you're always meeting a new audience. You're always meeting someone who doesn't know about Connect Here, who doesn't know who Azima Dhanjee is, which is why your passion has to be there. And it comes also naturally when you very strongly believe in the cause and you have seen impact of it. So that would be my advice to everyone out there. Build your product, but at the same time, connect with the community, connect with individuals, tell more and more people about what you're passionate about, what you're building. And this is, I think, a very constant, realization between Arham and I, that at times we would meet people. Like, for example, I'm talking to so many of you today, and I came here to educate you about the work that Connector is doing and about me being a female entrepreneur. But in my mind, I don't have this thing that, after my call, I'll connect with 20 of you right now today. However, I know that, a month later, maybe one of you in your organization would be asked that, hey, we are planning to hire a deaf person. Do you know any technology around it? And in your head, you'll be like, oh, I heard Azima and I heard about Connect Here. Why don't I connect with them? So, this is the power of connection. This is the power of networking. This is the power of telling your story with passion to people out there. Not only that, I think it is very, very important to be the face of your cause, face of your business. So, you would see every one of us at Connect Here really talking about what we're doing, what we're passionate about. We really use digital channels for it. So and we have done it to a level that if someone sees me, they know that this is the girl who signs, this is the girl who knows sign language, or this is the girl who has deaf parents. So become your own brand, work on that, talk about your causes, use multiple channels. That has also helped us in our journey.
That's great. There's another question by Daniel Sohail. So he said, for young entrepreneurs, what do you suggest is the right time to raise funds?
So, again, very good question. So I would tell from my experience, and I would let you get inspired by it and make your own decision. So everyone's journey is very different. Everyone's ideas are very different. When we started Connect Here, we were students. We had access to a lot of student competitions. So what we did naturally was we competed in a lot of student-based competitions, and that's where we got our first round of fundings. Not only that, we also applied for grant opportunities because we knew that the technology that we're building, it's doing social good, and there are grant opportunities that focus on technology for social good. So this has been our journey of raising funds. However, we also knew the fact that we cannot always rely on external funding. So from day one, when we structured ourselves, we realized we need to have multiple revenue streams, and we started getting our own income coming in, which was invested in the business. We also made very, I would say, smart decisions about. So we didn't Connect Here didn't have a website until 2 years of our business. So for the first 2 years, we didn't have the funds to invest to build a website. Time wise and money wise. So we had to be very smart about, okay, so we have gotten this funding. Do we utilize it to market ourselves and to hire individuals, or do we invest all of this money to build a website that no one would get to know about because we're not doing the work? So be smart about where you are investing your fundings in the very beginning. Bootstrap. I would really, really recommend young entrepreneurs to bootstrap. Of course, if you get access to investors and capital from the get go with your idea, that's brilliant. But that would not happen with a lot of you. So at that time, think about how can we bootstrap. If we want to create awareness about our company and we want to make marketing videos about it, is there an incubator or maybe a company who we can reach out to for helping us out with the equipment to make the videos? And in return, we can do something for them pro bono. So through that, you don't have to spend money on it. So I think start thinking about it early, start thinking about competitions, start thinking about grants, and then reach out to investors as well. And then it's rigorous, right? So I would always advise people to, I don't think I would have done this journey as a solo founder. So find co-founders, find people. They don't have to be a co-founders. They can be team players. They can be friends helping you out in the beginning, and divide the work. So if one person is going for competitions, the other person can sit and build the product. If both of those people have to go for a networking event in a competition, make sure there are other volunteers or helpers who are helping you out with the technology. So figure out how can you use your time to the best way, figure out what opportunities are available out there, and keep applying to places. Don't get distracted, but have a healthy balance. And then also realize you're going to make a lot of mistakes. I can give you 10,000 tips from my journey, but you are going to have your own journey. You are going to make your own mistakes. It's only going to help you in making better decisions later in your journey, or making smarter decisions with your next business.
Yeah, and we'll take just one last question by Beanish. So she said, looking ahead, what are your visions and goals for Connect Here and your broader efforts in advocating for deaf rights and accessibility?
Our vision is more we want all public spaces and services to be accessible for persons with disability, deaf community, with using technology. So our vision is that whichever company is working out there providing their services, they should always have their disability lens on when they're building new products or when they're trying to hire more people. And how to reach to that, how to advocate for that is just by creating more successful examples in society. I think this is one thing, one lesson that I have learned, that the more you talk about, the cases that have been proven to be successful, the more you inspire others to join us in the journey. So when we started with our application, when we brought it to companies, we had that first bank that tested our application and deployed it. And we used that use case and that story, and we publicized it so much that we had multiple banks coming up to us and being like, we also want this technology. We also want to support the community, or we have regulators telling us to do it. So please give us the tech. So that has really helped, and we just want to continue doing more and more. We want to take our technology outside Pakistan as well. So finger crossed for that. But all in all, I think this is what we want to do. We want to continue our passion. We acknowledge the fact that we are a company with purpose, and that will always stay the case. We are true to it. It's easy to forget it. I will warn you that when you are a company with purpose and you see, so much happening in the ecosystem, just raise, grow, expand, and you get lost that am I doing the right thing or not? Then your impact stories, your purpose, you need to remind that to yourself, and you need to stay true to it.
So, we have been overloaded with a lot of questions today, but due to the time constraint, we should wrap up the session. So, Azima, do you have any closing remarks you would like to give to the audience before we conclude?
First of all, thank you so much, Ahmed, for giving a shout out to Arham, that he spoke at the event last year. I think this is number one message that I would like to give, also being a female founder, because somebody over here asked me about the challenges female founders face. So I think having male allies in your journey is important, given our cultural context as well, to be very, very transparent and honest about it. So, having male allies support you in your journey and be equally passionate about what you're doing is very, very important. I've had brilliant male allies, which includes my co-founder Arham. So thank you so much, Emma, for giving him a shout out, and also my brother, my dad, my friends who have helped me. And if you're a male out there listening to this journey of a female founder, this is my request to you: be a male ally and see how you can keep your female colleagues, female tech entrepreneurs informed about what's happening over those chai chats that you guys have late at nights. Keep us informed about it, bring us on, give us those opportunities as well. Let us prove to you, well, let us show you, let us influence you, inspire you into the potential that we have. And then, generally, my last request, I think, for each one of you out there who are, I'm sure you all are very young, you are doing brilliant work in your own scopes, in your own spaces. And most of all, you all are in tech. Connectier is trying to build more technology. My request to you is whatever technology you guys build in your spaces, always have the gender lens as well as the disability lens on. Think about how your technology can be more inclusive. Have a conversation with us about how your technology can be more inclusive. People, whenever I go to spaces and I'm loud about, oh my God, your space is not accessible, your space is not inclusive, they always say that, oh, it's Azima, this is her work. She runs Connect Here. She is going to say that. I don't want the work to end with Azima and the 14 team members she has at Connect Here. I want all of you to be our agents, to have your disability lens on wherever you go, whatever work you do, whatever work you build, and come back to us. Tell me that, hey, I heard you today at the event, and my company has this limitation when it comes to disability. Can you help us out? Can I come and help you with your technology? Azima, we have tested your technology, and this is something you can do better. Have these conversations with us. I think that would be a huge win for all of us in the society.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Azima, for your wonderful insights and contribution to the community. We are so honored to host you today for this episode, and the audience have indeed learned a lot from you, and so have I. The audience can connect with you on LinkedIn with the URL given on the screen, and it's also shared in the comments. Next, in the Mars series featuring women in technology, GDG Live Pakistan will return with headlines on Monday. Thank you everyone for being a lovely audience and for connecting with us today. Ramazan Mubarak. Take care. Allah Hafiz.
Love is